Here we are, folks, back in episode 21 of the Silly Goose Gang podcast. And tonight we're joined by Gareth Timmins, former Royal Marines Commando, owner of Becoming the 0.1% and performance coach at Fortitude Elite. So thanks for joining us, Gareth.
Thank you very much. Cheers for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. I think, did I read that you used to play a little bit of rugby league as well? Is that right?
Yeah, I did, mate. I did. I started playing really young when I was about 7 years old, and that was kind of like all I wanted to be. My dad were an ex-professional rugby league player who was a strength and conditioning coach at CAS when I was born, and I'd always been kind of surrounded in that environment. So when I got to, it's all I wanted to be. I just wanted to be pro and make that a career, and I did. I turned pro quite young. I had a few professional games, and it just didn't seem to work out. It just for one and different reasons. I just had quite a bit of adversity there.
It's a proper tough sport. My dad's from Bolton, Gareth. So I was kind of forced to watch some rugby league when I was growing up because my dad said, "Well, if you're from the northwest, you had to watch rugby league." So he made me watch rugby league. So it's a proper man sport.
Mate. I absolutely loved it. I absolutely dedicated my life to it. I had kind of no plan B. I didn't do very well at school as a result because I thought that's what I was going to do. I was hell bent on doing it. Went to Leeds, went to Bradford first, and they said I wasn't big enough. And then I went to Leeds, and I had a great time at Leeds. But again, a lot of it's timing, and you have to have a certain element of luck. And looking back, I just didn't have the speed, the killer speed to exploit the game that I needed to at that level. So there were quite a lot of kind of variables that went into it, and I just lost love with the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But looking back, that definitely set me up for. Although it was like massive, significant failure in my life, it definitely set me up for going on to the Marines.
These, I think, one of these things, and a lot of kids now don't understand this, is those big failures are the thing that push you on. That's what drive you, 100%.
Absolutely. I mean, you're completely right, mate. I mean, it was a significant failure in my life, or how I perceived that to be, and I just felt like my life had ended. I'd lost my purpose, and all my life really I'd had physical contact, and as soon as that were like kind of pulled away, and I lost my purpose, and I had no direction where I wanted to go for about 2 years. I was just out drinking and fighting constantly every weekend. It were getting to the point where police would literally be at my house every weekend, and they knew me by my first name. It was just getting stupid, and I knew I had to mix it up. And I were always really, really ambitious in that period, but the energy that would normally get expended in rugby just had nowhere else to go. So it was quite a strange time. And my old man, my dad, he never sat me down and explained what was going on. I kind of had to work it all out for myself. I had no real mentor, really. It was quite bizarre looking back now. Now I'm a father myself.
Yeah. I suppose, as you say, it's those things in the moment you look back, or at the moment, the worst thing that could possibly have happened. But looking back in the long run, it's obviously worked out all right for you in the longer stretch where you ended up going.
Yeah, it absolutely has, mate. And if I do look back now and look where I am, rugby were never really my path. This was always my path. Do you know what I mean? I always liken kind of my plight at rugby being like kind of like swimming against the tide. That's how it felt. It didn't feel natural and where I should have been. Whereas as soon as I went in the Marines, it all started sitting into place, and I thought this is what I should be doing. I got some success in the Marines and slowly built on training. Before you know it, I got my cap comfort, and before even then, you're going into the Commando testing, and all of a sudden I've passed out. So it definitely was I see it anyway as it was just preparation. It was preparing me for the Marines. It was just a real catalyst for where I ended up.
when you're young and you're only interested in getting drunk, and when you're in that phase, it's difficult to see 5, 10 years down the line. You know what I mean? We've all been there. We've all been young lads. And
mate, we have, yeah.
Out chasing women and fighting and getting drunk and falling out of nightclubs.
Mate, that was my like modus operandi, mate. That was me every weekend. I'd do a couple of days work at a local sports centre called Light Waves Leisure Centre. I played rugby on the side. Then when the rugby stopped, I still continued to do some work at a leisure centre as a lifeguard. I was the worst lifeguard in history because I just had I had no interest in it at all. I was terrible, absolutely horrific, just terrible work ethic, and just absolutely thought I was just a complete down and out loser. And then when I kind of said I was going for the Marines, everybody kind of laughed at me and just thought I were a bit of a joke. But that were all because of how my behaviour, I think, prior to that, and just my attitude for work. I had to do something of purpose and something that meant something to me. I just desperately didn't want to be average.
No, definitely. Yeah. How old were you when you went down to Limston then, Gareth?
Yeah, so I tried to go down, mate, when I was 18. I passed an initial fitness test and then did a psychometric test, and I failed on maths. And again, that were another thing. I never applied myself academically at all, and failed on my maths. I had to wait 12 months, which killed me, absolutely broke me. It was like my life run old again. But I had you could call it a private maths tutor that taught me maths for a year, who was my actual boss at Light Waves Leisure Centre where I was a lifeguard, and I just absolutely dedicated myself to getting better at maths, and then I reapplied, and then I went down when I was just before my 20th birthday to do my PRMC.
Right. Royal Marines course.
Yeah.
The only reason I know is I went down in 1999 for it. That's why.
Yes, mate, absolutely. You said in your initial comms, mate. What happened there?
Basically, my knees are shot. I've had 13 knee operations between my two knees.
Really?
I played rugby union as opposed to league, being up here in the Central Belt of Scotland.
Right.
And basically, I was 14, 15, round about that neck of the woods the first time. Did the old classic, planted a leg to cut inside, fullback came through my knee, my body went one way, the knee went the other, and just destroyed everything in my knee. And
same happened to me, mate.
Yeah, and then it changed
ACL
together. I did my ACL, PCL, MCL, meniscus all in a one. The full menu, eh? And
I bet you were like Forrest Gump after, weren't you, mate?
I was. But then, stupidly, as you were saying, when you're 16 and 17 and think you know it all the highly paid orthopaedic surgeons in the NHS were telling me to rest for 18 months. 3 or 4 months down the line, I thought, that knee feels all right. I think I can play on that. And I couldn't play on that, but lo and behold, I found it out during the game when I tore it again. So basically, my knees fell apart, eh? So I never ever made it, basically. My knees just wouldn't allow me to continue on. But I still have fond memories of Woodbury Common and the bottom field and Peter's Pool and the sheep dip and the Spanish tunnels and
yeah, it's just next level down there.
Yeah.
It's just. I can remember going down for my PRMC, and you just feel like you're on a one-way ticket to hell kind of thing. And I've always likened it to like being on a roller coaster, really, especially going down to start training, where you get strapped in, i.e., you're on the train, and you're heading down south to Limston, and technically you can get off, but you can't, and you're on that one-way journey to. There's like severe discomfort and an absolute change in your life and your autonomy. It's unbelievable.
What was the thing that made you want to sign up, Gareth? Was there something in particular that made you go, I want to go and try this? Or
yeah, it was. Well, my dad was. My dad spent 17 years in the Navy. He were a PTI and a diver, and my mum was also in for 5 years. Back in the day in the Navy, she were a Wren, so I'd kind of knew that. Obviously, that's what they'd done. It never rammed down my face to go in the military, I'd always said no up until I actually kind of pulled the trigger on it. But my granddad had always said, look, if rugby don't work out, you want to think about the Royal Marines. But it just seemed like an impossible task kind of thing. It just seemed quite impossible and daunting. I didn't really give it much thought. And then two things happened, really. I watched a film called Antoine Fisher with Denzel Washington in, believe it or not. And I really liked that. And that were about Navy life. And then one day I was sat with my best friend, and we'd been drinking all night. And I mean, this were about 6-7 o'clock in the morning. And we were like flipping through the channels, and Sky News came on, and it showed you Royal Marines or SBS looking for Saddam's sons, and like all weapons and everything. And I was just like, that's 100% what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to go straight out to war. And literally the next day, I phoned Leeds Careers Office up and started that process. It was as quick as that. And just that kind of one exposure to Sky News kind of changed my life, really.
That's crazy. It's one of those things that, like you've almost said, it was almost like it was your pathway, that you were always going to dig that, whether you know. Mate,
I honestly think I was. I mean, I'm not a religious person at all, or into like kind of anything like that, but it just seems like fate. And there's a lot of things that have happened in my life that are just like, it just has to be meant to be. I've got no other words for it. And I just think that I'm so grateful that it didn't work out at rugby, and that I had that really, really early like failure, if you want to call it that, adversity, and that I went on to doing what I'm doing now. Because with Becoming and Fortitude and bringing the book out, it's just, for me, I've got so much passion in that. And my rugby career would have finished now with me being 35. And there's not a lot of options for ex-rugby league players, unless you've been significantly successful and you've done well with your money. But everybody has to go on and work, and lads do struggle. And I don't know, mate. I just feel so grateful that never happened, and that I did take this route, because I'm truly grateful for that.
Yeah, it's I can kind of relate to that myself. I had some friends die when I was 18. I went on a downward spiral for a few years, and
wow.
And I had one of my best friends. He eventually got me to go to boxing, and,
right.
So I went to boxing, and like you're saying, things that, you know, when you first start and you go for your first session, you can't skip, you can't do anything, and you're
very true, mate.
This seems really difficult. So kept working away, and it just started feeling natural. And then, 4 years later, I'd boxed for Scotland and stuff. I've got a sparred army team and all these kind of things. I know a lot of those guys.
That's amazing, mate. Amazing.
And then from there, just exactly what you're saying, everything from I got bored of boxing in the end. But all those, overcoming all those obstacles and it gave you the confidence then to go, I could run a marathon, I can do a triathlon, I think I could try jiu-jitsu. And then you start going, and then it transfers into everything. You go, well, why can't we do a podcast? Why can't I design my own?
It's absolutely true, lads. It really is. Confidence is absolutely the catalyst, and eliciting that confidence and building on it is the power of that is unbelievable. I mean, when I launched Becoming, the 1% in the book, I did it after a few drinks one night. I had a bit of Dutch courage, and I thought, I'm going to launch it, because the risk in terms of people looking at my content and passing judgment on my interpretation of training, for me, is massive, because people can be like, you're talking shit, mate, or really criticize me. So I kind of pressed send on the book, and it went absolutely nuts. And that then gave me the confidence to start posting a bit of content. And then once people were like, this content's mega, like it's brilliant, that then gave me the confidence then to keep going and going and going. And that's kind of where I am today. I mean, if not, it's just a series of small events where you build your confidence and you get that momentum. But you do have to kind of come out your comfort zone a bit, don't you?
Do you feel now, Gareth, like like you're kind of, you're on a roll, and you kind of feel like, fucking, I could do anything. I feel like I could, achieve anything, just because the momentum builds, your confidence builds. You realize, at some point there's a realization in your head. You go, I'm actually not a fucking idiot. I can actually do all of this stuff. I'm 100% capable. And then it just builds and builds and builds. And then, do you know what I mean? Do you feel like
mate, yeah, absolutely. Like, I always said that I would eventually. I've always been like quite entrepreneurial, and I love business, and I've always said that I will do something that'll be good, that'll hopefully make a difference. And this is it. It's completely blindsided me. Like, the book, whenever, if you would have said to me in school that you'll write a book, you would have been absolutely joking. I couldn't read until I were about, I don't know, 8 or 9, 10 years old. There used to be like a special bus that used to rock up for me, and I'd get on this white transit van, and it used to take me to a secure reading unit in Crofton, and they'd sit me down and say, "This says the at." It would just really basic stuff. That's how much I couldn't read. I had definitely had undiagnosed ADHD or something of that kind of ilk, but yeah, just crazy.
Yeah, I know the feeling, man. There's so many things in my life where I could look at them and go, let's say from day one at boxing, somebody said, you boxed for Scotland one day, you'd go, fuck off.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I always liked the idea of a triathlon, and if somebody said, you can do a triathlon, and you go, fucking no chance. Now I've done multiple. Ironman stuff. You go, nah. And then, I mean, we had talked about doing a podcast, like we were saying before, and you go, I don't know. That seems like, I don't think. And then you do it, and you go, actually, this is quite good. It's good fun, and it just builds confidence, and then you become a more complete person, and then you try and help the people around, try and help the people around about you, and then you know what I mean. You just build everybody else up, and it's It's a cool thing.
It's another thing with a fate on the fate topic as well, and I suppose you could call it timing as well. I mean, I started doing forensic psychology in 2014, a 6-year course, and I've just finished it now. And it's been an amazing journey. I've learned so much, and it's benefited me no end. But in terms of the timing of it, it's like, just as I was finishing, my publishing agent said, why don't you just put 33 lessons of psychology from each week and into the book? And I couldn't have done that without doing the course.
Yeah.
And I can only really put them credentials onto the book by finishing the end of the degree, which has just happened. Mm. So in terms of timing of them two projects coming together, it's absolutely crazy.
Actually, I just saw your video today. You posted about, you were talking about the publishing agent making that recommendation of the 33 lessons, kind of one for each week that you were at Limpston. I take it that's where the 33 comes from. Yeah. I love that idea.
Yeah, what happened was, it took me years to get a publishing agent. I first sent off to publishing agents out of a massive book called The Artist and Writer's Yearbook. It's like the Bible. And a bit like a Yellow Pages kind of thing. And you have to go through and you highlight people that are into your genre, and then you send off, they've all got particular submissions that they want to see, first couple of chapters or a cover letter, a synopsis. I sent off to 50 people and got no response. And then I had it's so difficult to get a publishing, a literacy agent. It's ridiculous. And then I was speaking to Ben Williams. I'll give him a bit of a shout out. He's a fantastic guy, ex-Royal Marine like me. He's bringing out a book called The Commando Mindset in January, which is the 4 pillars of leadership. And really, really fantastic guy. And he said, look, speak to my agent, but I can't make any promises. I've referred people to him before, and he's always kind of, for want of a better term, chinned them off. And I spoke to him briefly, and he went, this is an unbelievable idea. I love it. He said, would you consider writing the lessons in? And straight away I thought, this is just brain damage. Do you know what I mean? This is just oh God, just when you think you've finished a project and then you've got all this to do. And weirdly enough, I wrote 2 lessons in one day. And straight away I thought, this is going to be unbelievable. It just, like the first week I discussed Recruit Nero, who were a big 6'4" guy with his 2 front teeth, missing boxer. And I've just put like Recruit Nero and a construct of masculinity. Then I broke masculinity down and how it can provide a false element of perception and stuff. So it's just made it multi-layered now. It's just really brought it to life.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's interesting.
For anyone listening, I know it from obviously following you, but just for anyone that's listening that's unfamiliar, where does the becoming 0.1% come from? Because I loved it when I first read it. I thought it's a great thing looking back to.
Yeah, so absolutely. So like around the time when I were like kind of exposed to the Royal Marines and when I was kind of intrigued by it, when I kind of thought it were an impossible kind of task, is when they had the 2001 advert where you've got the young lad running across Woodbury Common and he's obviously doing the endurance course, and they're like, you can hear all this shouting from like the DS or the training team, and they're like, get him and shove him into the sheep dip, and he gets stuck in there, and it's just where'd you quit, and then obviously 99.9% need not apply. So I just had a thought. I just thought, well, I'll call it becoming the 0.1%, because I think at that time the stats were that when somebody walked into a careers office or called a careers office up, there were a 0.1% chance of them getting a green beret come the other side. It were an actual statistic, and I thought there were no greater name to call it that.
Is that still the number? 0.1%. Is that still the number of success?
I'm not, mate. I couldn't quote you on it, but it won't be far off. It won't be far off. I mean, there's so many people drop out before they've even got to the PRMC. Yeah, and then even after the PRMC, there's some lads, believe it or not, that go down on the train to start training and don't get off the train. They just go back home.
Yeah.
See, this is the way my fucking idiot brain works. My idiot brain now goes, why don't you go and fucking sign up? That's the way my idiot brain works. Like, only got, but can I do it?
Well, that's what I would like, mate. And you know what? You do not think you can do it, and I didn't think I could do it. I mean, I joined. I had a ruptured cruciate ligament ACL that needed an operation. I had eczema and asthma, and I didn't say a word in my medical. I got all the way through, and I just thought, you know what, I'll just give it my best shot. And even if I do 10 weeks, it's going to make me a better person. Yeah. But obviously, I didn't want to come home and fail. I was so desperate not to fail again in my life, because I thought, if I do fail again, I know what that'll mean. The way that I was going were just prison. Absolutely, I was just on a really, really bad collision course with kind of with the justice system, and yeah, I mean, even when you get to like your commando test and you do your 30 miler, you don't actually know you've completed training until you've done it, until you've crossed that bridge on your 30 miler and you've got your green beret, because you can get injured at any time. Something can go wrong at any time.
What are you carrying on that? I think you got a full pack on with
yeah. So on your commando, when you do your test, you've got 21 pound plus your weapon. Problem is, I mean, as soon as you go through like Peter's Pool or like through the sheep dip, everything just fills up with water and you weigh an absolute ton. Yeah. And at the start of training, if somebody puts 21 pound plus a weapon on you in boots, to think that you have to do all your tests in that weight alone is just mind-blowing to you. It feels impossible. But to answer your question, mate, on the 30 miler, I had around 54 pound plus my weapon. And I had an hour's sleep just before 30 miler because I was that kind of anxious. And kind of the mentality that I were at, I just thought, I don't care if I don't go to sleep. I'll still do it. I'll still give it my best. And after the first mile, I was absolutely in the hurt locker.
Mm.
You kind of like go up a hill that veers off to the right, and just my shins and my ankles and my legs were just horrendous. And I can remember getting to like 12-mile checkpoint, and I was broken physically and mentally, and I hadn't even got halfway. It's just such a mental onslaught. Is the 30-miler.
So when you're doing that, I'm assuming you said this is a checkpoint, but I'm assuming if something went wrong in that point, you'd have to phone somebody. Would you have to use a phone or a sat phone or whatever to call somebody to come and get you? Is that what would have to happen?
Yeah. So what happens, mate, is you do the 30-miler in your section. So there could be 3 or 4 sections of about, I don't know, 6 or 8 guys, and your section corporal leads it. He nabs it for you, so you just have to follow him. But you keep his pace. And when you get to the checkpoints, mate, there's normally like safety wagons and other people there in support. So you get like warm drinks and gels and Cornish pasties and sausage rolls, all stuff just to keep you going. You have a brief stop and then you crack straight on. Yeah. Interestingly, some of the checkpoints are actually graves where lads have died doing it. So you get there and you have a little toast and a little salute to them, and then you crack on. So it's pretty, it's an unbelievable thing.
So it just becomes a point of just put one leg in front of the other and keep moving. Mate,
that is exactly what it is. I mean, I can remember on the last 6 miles of it, and this is in the diary, I was so exhausted, I was hallucinating, and I had to pull myself up like this, a really like steep field on a downed barbed wire fence. And I pulled myself all the way up it and like ripped all my hands to pieces. But that's kind of how desperate and unrelenting I was to try and succeed. And I got to the top and I was just all over. The lads had left me at that point. I would bang on going to fail it. And the PTI dropped back and he said, "Look, unless you square yourself away, you're not going to pass." And I ate a boatload of Jaffa cakes, believe it or not, and it absolutely changed the game, mate. And I just caught the lads up.
Yeah. That's good. The power of the mind's amazing when you know.
It really is, mate.
Keep pulling on.
Yeah.
Was it yourself, Gareth, talking about distances? And I'm sure, I apologise if it wasn't on yours, but you'd put up on your social media about running from Speen Bridge. For the Commando Memorial. No, I must have been.
Oh, yes, I did, mate. I did. Yeah, I did.
Trainers. The only reason I bring that up is because
absolutely, yeah.
My granddad was in the Marines for 28 years, which is where the kind of inspiration for myself came from. And it was during the Second World War through the 50s and into the early 60s. And I remember him telling me when I was like a tiny little kid that he did the run from the train station.
From the train station, yeah.
In his parade
up to Atnacarry. Oh.
He did it in his parade boots. I remember him telling me.
Mate,
I know that area amazing. Where do you run from?
So you run from the train station at Springbridge, and you run to Atnacarry House, which is, I believe, about 7 miles. And basically, don't quote me on this, although I have documented it accurately in the diary. But in order to become a commando and start commando training, you had to stop on the train station, jump off in drill boots and your kit, and you had to run from the train station to Atnacarry House 7 miles in under an hour. And if you did that, then you could start commando training. But so every year they do the anniversary, the Atnacarry Speed March, and in true core tradition, when I were in training, when I were in my unit up in Scotland, they went, "Right, lads, you're doing it in 2 weeks," and we'd done no training at all. So we're getting all this like panic training in to get ready for this speed march, and no word of a lie, lads, it were absolutely leaping. It would one of the hardest physical things I've ever done.
Is that going through fields and all this kind of stuff?
No, you are on a road. You're on a road, mate. Yeah, but the first mile and a half is up a steep hill. It's up a hill that never ends.
Everything's uphill in Scotland. Everything's uphill.
Oh, mate, fucking!
even the downhills are uphill.
Mate, I ran up it, and I must have been in like, say, top 20 people at that time, and there were loads of people doing it, like hundreds of people. I were in top 20. I'd gone off like an headless chicken, just smashing it. I got a quarter away up the hill, and my posture went from being all like fit and looking mega athletic to being, by the time I'd got to the top of the hill, I was like bent like for 45 degrees, literally in the worst physical state ever, and everybody passed me. And I never ever recovered from that. That hill broke me beyond belief, and it was certainly. However, such as your grandfather and others did that in drill boots is just, you've got to wear drill boots and you'll know straight away, is all I'll say. It's just mind-blowing feat of achievement.
My granddad was a tough old bastard. There's no two ways about it. I remember him coming up to... I'm originally I grew up in Rosyth because my dad was also in the Royal Navy, so I grew up in the Rosyth dockyard area. Yeah. And my granddad came up to visit, and he was 64, and he was doing flags on the lampposts. Like a flag.
Really? Wow.
Horizontal, like 64. He was just a mean, tough
really?
Old bastard.
Bloody hell.
He finished off as a...
What happened to you?
Finished up as a W2 Marines.
Did he?
Yeah, he went like he was a career Marine, eh?
Yeah.
I love these stories. I love these stories. These old military guys, and they're just savages. And
God, it's just next level. I mean,
they wouldn't even think of it that way. They just seen themselves as men. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They'd go and fight. Have a fight.
Yeah.
That's what they
That's do. Mate. That's what it was. It was once it like back in the day with those boys. It's just it was work hard, play hard, and they epitomised like burning the candle at both ends, didn't they?
Yeah,
they were just unbelievable mentality and mental, crazy.
I've always thought I've done quite a bit of running around about the Highlands. So this is why you're up round in that area. If you've ever done any running through the hills or through fields or on trails around there, some of the land is, well, I'll tell you, it's funny. It was one of the most soul destroying things in my life. So I've done Glencoe Marathon twice. The first time,
right,
pissed down the rain. It was pissing down the rain. They almost cancelled it. They let it go. There's no mile markers. So when you feel like you've been running for a long time, I must have done, and I'm going, I must have done a good distance. I'm looking at my watch. So we come to this bog before you get to the Devil's Staircase in Glencoe.
Mate, I've done the Devil's Staircase.
Well, there's a bog when you come from.
It's absolutely honking.
You go through a bog, and there was a marshal standing at the end of the bog, right at the bottom of the Devil's Staircase, and I went to him. I goes, I was an hour 47. I said, how far have we went, mate? He goes, about 6 miles. What the fuck? I lost my shoes in the bog. I was sliding about. You go, oh my God. And you just think, fuck, man. Because, that road at the back of the Devil's Staircase is the old military road.
It leads you down to... Kinloch Leven, mate. Yeah. Listen to this. So... We did the US Marines came over and did 3 weeks training with us in Scotland. And in classic kind of like Royal Marines style, we just beasted them up and down mountains. And on day one, we did Ben Nevis up the climbers route with full kit, full Bergens and everything. Halfway up, we had to top flap all their Bergens because they couldn't carry them. And then near the summit, some of them were like crawling on their hands and knees and like literally like clinging on to life. We just completely broke them. It were unbelievable. And then once we got down from Ben Nevis, round about lunchtime, early afternoon, we went and did Devil's Staircase. And mate, some at US Marines got off and they were just saying like I need to get me a Devil's Escalator.
This is a nice
Were
segue.
you,
Sorry, Ali. This is a nice segue for this. So I've spoke to I've got a few friends who are RAF and stuff. And what was your who's better, our guys or their guys?
Oh, we're hands down better, mate. I mean, in terms of being the complete soldier and the mentality and that robustness and that resilience and that ability to crack on when the chips are down, to be effective with limited kit. So is what separates us from anybody else in the world. I mean, the Americans, they've got all the kit, they look amazing, they've got all the best weapons.
This is what my pal.
Yeah, I mean, when we were going up Ben Nevis. Sorry, mate. When we were going up Ben Nevis, they were just like saying, like, why are you doing this? We just get helicopters. They're just like they're just saying, you're fucking stupid. Why would you do this? And I think it's perception of events as well, in terms of they're like a kind of a shoot first and think later kind of mentality, and I say we're hands down better. We're not. They are good. They are very, very good. I mean, we went over there for 3 weeks and we did some training where we were fighting in urban areas in Quantico, Virginia, in mock villages, and they were absolutely superb. The US Marines were superb. The lessons that they learned from Fallujah and from Iraq and how they'd applied them to their training we learned a lot there. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to take anything away from them. They were absolutely superb with kind of contemporary urban warfare.
So what my friends have told me. So one of my friends was a weapons technician in the RAF, and a few other guys who are in the army and stuff, and a few other guys who are in the RAF. They've all said to me, they've got all the kit. They've got all the kit in the world, the best of everything. Our guys are fucking better.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear it from my Marine himself. That was all.
Yeah. It's completely true, mate. It's completely true. It's that. It's having that ability to cuff it, to just be like, just to get on with it. It's all mental. And just because we're always a country, like the same example with COVID and NHS, no PPE, you're having to like bastardize everything and just crack on with whatever you can get your hands on. It's we've never got enough or the right kit. It always happens after a big event, like after this COVID. Now there'll be PPE coming out of people's ears, and it was same with Afghan. Afghan kind of exposed the British military in terms of our kit. It's a hell of a lot better now, but we are always behind. We're always behind the curve in terms of having the right stuff and the best stuff. We always have to make do and get on with not the right equipment, and that is what makes us the best.
Yeah, definitely. So you were saying, were you based at 4-5 in Arbroath then, where you've been talking to Scotland?
Yeah, so I went to FP. I put in for 40 first because when we were going through training, Afghan were kicking off, and we were told explicitly that once you finish training, you'd be going straight up to Afghan, and they were still back end of Iraq as well. So you knew that's where you were going, and you know what? I was praying to go like that. That's why I joined. I wanted to go straight on operations. So I put in for 40. I didn't get it. I went to FPG, but I was happy with FPG RM, Fleet Protection Group. They look after like all the subs and the weapons up there. And I did 6 months kind of behind the wire, looking like in a bit of a force protection role. And then I went on like a small selection to go on FSRT, Fleet Standby Rifle Troop, which is like a non-compliant boarding element to the Royal Marines, which you're like readily deployable and available for anything that happens, security or military. And I had a great time on there, mate. I did some good ops and stuff.
Yeah. So was that Faslane then at the time?
Faslane. That's right, mate. Faslane. Yeah, mate. Yeah.
I've got a couple of mates that joined up not long after me, but they were 4-5 at Arbroath, so I just wondering if you'd ever crossed paths with them potentially.
Yeah, no, I never went to 4-5, mate.
Okay.
No, I couldn't. I had a bit of a strange experience in Scotland. And I know it's kind of our fault. No matter where you go, we just tarnish and destroy the local people, and they absolutely hated us. Do you know what I mean? You guys absolutely hated us, and rightfully so. I mean, as behaviour and conduct in these little areas where camps are is terrible.
I've got quite a few friends in Arbroath, and they always told me that when the lads came out from Condor, it was fucking carnage in the village. Fucking carnage. So
it's just fucking crazy, mate. Yeah.
But then you can't expect to do what you guys are doing, and knowing you're going to deploy to Afghan or something like that. You've got to be a little bit fucking crazy to want to do it, to be excited to do it. So what do you expect when you get guys like that? Alcohol. Fuck, it's going to happen. You have to be a little bit on edge, I suppose.
Yeah.
Pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the drinking culture's changed a lot. I mean, when I started in the Marines, it were encouraged to be like a social hand grenade in the Marines. It were just it were literally like go out, drink, and just get involved in anything. You kind of felt like you were above the law. It was mental. It was just crazy. I mean, lads would come off the piss at like 6 a.m, still in the going out shoes, the jeans and the shirts, and they'd have to jump straight in and do a troop run in what they were wearing from the night before, like absolutely out the red on drink. It was a crazy culture back then, and I have heard it's all changed, and maybe it can only be a good thing, really.
So I own a car recovery business, Gareth. So I pick up cars for insurance companies when they've been crashed, and I am fairly regularly at Lookers, fairly regularly at Lookers, and it's always lads that have had an accident at fucking 3 o'clock in the morning and put a car in the field and all this kind of stuff. So
really,
I'm not sure how much it's changed.
Oh, right.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm at army bases quite fairly regularly.
I mean, ultimately, I've wrote about this in the book as well. When you get a lot of lads together, like rugby lads, lads in the Marines, when you get a bunch of lads together that are all of kind of like the same mentality. I hate to word the word alpha male, but that kind of hierarchy. Everybody's everybody's like trying to establish their own, like how masculine they are and the power and the within the group. Drink always comes into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just does. It's a strange thing that happens when you get a group of men together. But interesting, mate. It doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise me at all.
No, I'm fairly right. It's one of the funniest things you can do. So whenever I go in someplace, wherever I'm going for work, I'm always nice and friendly. How you doing? You have a joke. If you go to these places. So the first time I ever went to Lookers, the guy said, "Stand over there, take a picture." Stand there, take a picture, and said, the guy took the picture. Went, you want me to sign it for you? As a joke. You're just trying a little icebreaker. He just straight face, no smile. There was no humour at all. It was like, no, just straight. No, I don't. Oh, all right. It's not that kind of place, then, is it? But the guys in the gatehouse were so serious. So serious.
Yeah.
Once you got inside with your pass, everybody's fucking about and joking and laughing. And the guys in the gate were at every base that I've ever been in are super serious. There's no messing about with those lads. But the guys inside are fine. But it's always funny when you go to a gatehouse. It's very, very. I suppose they have to be serious, don't they? But
Yeah.
It always makes you laugh when you're trying to have a joke and somebody just shoots you down with a fucking death stare and you go, thank you for your service. I'll cut myself out.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Taxi.
So how many tours did you do Afghan?
Yeah, so like unbelievably, mate, I missed Afghan. Yeah, I did. I went to Iraq twice. I went to Iraq first when the lads got captured by the Iranians. So I went out within 24 hours after they got taken, and then I went again and I escorted some like logistical kit, some like weapons and transport from Malta into Qazar. Then we did some training with Iraqi Marines. Did a bit of a training element there, and then I did some counter-piracy stuff off coast of Somalia. I did once. I was in when we were in Cyprus in Akrotiri. I literally got so fed up, and I phoned my old sergeant major up at FPG, and I said, can you get me a draft so I can get out to Afghan? And he said, where do you want to go? And I said, I want to get out of Scotland. I want to either 40 or 42. And he phoned me back and he went, I can get you to 45 straight away. You can literally go next week. And I said, I just didn't want to. I wanted to get out of Scotland and just head south a bit. And yeah, I kind of dodged it. It's something really strange though, mate. And I've got to be really, really honest here with myself. And again, I've been really honest in the book. You think you're invincible when you leave training. You really do, and you just think that you can't be killed. They kind of drum it into you that if you've got a green lid on your head, you can literally walk on water, and you do believe that. Do you know what I mean? You think that you're just invincible, and they stood us up after fighting election. There were only 11 originals that passed out of 51 lads, and they stood us up at end of final election. They said statistics say that 3 or 4 of you will get killed, and they're only a pool of 11, and some of you will get injured. And we were like looking around, thinking like, "Fucking hell! Like, is this just mind games, or is this gem?" And mate, it came true. It came true within a year. Tom Curry, who were King's Badge, who were my best mate in training, got killed. And I'd only just spoke to him just prior, and I was saying, mate, I can't believe you're going to go and get like trigger time, and you're going to get a medal and all this. And we were absolutely buzzing to be going, and I were really envious of him. And then he got killed, and it really, really changed me, mate. It really changed me. Ben Reddy, Ben Watley, and Tom got killed, and another lad, Craig Wilson, got shot in the wrist just as he were entering drug run 4. It's like everybody were getting shot and killed. And there were only 11 of us. And my cloak of invincibility kind of came off, and I felt vulnerable. And in the end, I was kind of relieved that I never went, because I thought it had my number. I absolutely thought Afghan had my number. And then I left, and I thought, if I don't put this right, I'm going to live to regret this. So I applied for 2 or 3 years to get hostile doing CP. And I eventually... after 3 years, I got offered a job with Olive Group to go out doing close protection in Iraq. And at the same time, I got an offer to go out to Afghan and do close protection in Afghan. And Afghan at that time were still kicking off, and it was still hot kind of thing. So I chose Afghan to put it right. But I must admit, I was scared to death of going. Absolutely scared to death. But I thought, unless I go and confront this, I'll never be able to live with myself, and I'm just thankful I did.
Yeah, it's must be an extremely difficult thing to do, knowing that people you know have not made it. And
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was like the I don't know, like the boogeyman. I just had this like internal feeling that something were going to go wrong there. Do you know what I mean? But I had to confront it. I had to go out there and put it right. And yeah, I did. And I'm really, really glad I've done it. Do you know what I mean? I'm glad I put that to bed, because I never really would have been able to live with myself not going.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense to me.
It does make sense. Even non-combatants, it still makes sense. You know what I mean?
One of those things that you have to put right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, CP. I mean, it is a tricky role. I mean, we got the project didn't start in Afghan for quite some time really. So we were kind of locked down on bases and stuff, but we started doing a few moves and started. Our main role out there was to look out at communications engineers that were teaching the Afghan army how to use radios. So we were like going into classrooms and just watching American mentors teach officers how to use radios and just watching that they didn't detonate or attack the mentors and us. So we did that, but I mean, that year and a bit in Afghan were unbelievable, really.
How successful was the training of Iraqis or Afghans? Was that a successful thing, or did those guys end up in ISIS, or what? How did?
Yeah, I mean, God, I mean, how can you even evaluate it? It just a massive mess, mate, for me seeing it. There'd been a lot of training invested into them. There were crates of weapons that were getting delivered just as I left Afghan in 2014, and comms gear from America, like crates and crates of M16s and M4s for the Afghan National Army, and they just had no confidence at all in them being able to protect the country. Yeah, and it was just a mess. And whenever like convoys of them would go out in Helmand, like you hear stories of convoys of them going out in Helmand, like the Afghan National Army, and the Taliban would whack them in ambushes and kill them all. The Taliban were kind of all over them. I personally do not know what was achieved in Afghan in 10 years. I don't know what was achieved. I don't think you can call it a success at all.
Yeah. No, certainly looking at it from an outsider's point of view, obviously, it definitely looks like it's been a bit of not even a stalemate, I suppose. It just seems to have not really changed a huge amount, unfortunately, when you think of the... It
doesn't change it, mate. It doesn't change it, mate. I mean, it's really strange, you know. I've been to all the Middle Eastern countries. I did 2 years working in Egypt during the revolution and stuff. And Egypt for me is kind of like the most deprived, and it's very mucky. It's just a very awful place, Egypt. It's the worst place I've ever been in my life. Put it that way. Afghan could be good. It could be all right. Do you know what I mean? If the people were given a chance and they could get themselves right, it could be all right. It's nowhere near as bad as Egypt in terms of how it looks, and they've got some. I mean, I got a helicopter from Gardez, a small camp in the mountains, to a few other camps, and then back to Kabul, and some of the scenery is unbelievable in the mountains. It's unbelievable. It could be a beautiful country, but they're so stuck in the past, and kind of cut off from the world that it's just very difficult for them, I think. And
you're trying to, America and Britain were trying to change a country that's just not ready to change.
That's it, mate. It is. I mean, it's they don't want to change.
Yeah.
We're trying to change a region, a country, a part of the planet that doesn't want to change, really. And Afghan is definitely so far back in time. It's trapped in. It's prehistoric. It's crazy. I mean, they're on horse and cart, and it's just mental. It's crazy.
Trying to place a democracy and a Western government into a country where they are on their donkey going to get water. It's just like,
mate. It is. It's absolutely that. It's and I had the same kind of feeling in Iraq, mate. I just looked around and I just thought, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, what can possibly be achieved here? What are we doing? I just baffled me.
Yeah.
Other than obviously it highlighted the issue with kit, and our guys are obviously now very good at, and not urban these
there was so much learned, I think, in Iraq in that sense, in terms of fighting in built up areas and stuff, and there were so many learning points from errors that were made. I think looking back on it, it were a complete farce, Iraq.
I suppose it is. I know we're kind of winding down because I know you're needing to get off, Gareth. But just before we go, I've again read the story on your social media, but you mentioned a few times your book and the diary that formed the basis of it. Do you want to talk us through how the diary appeared in your life and the story?
Sure, mate. Sure. So obviously, I've told you about my schooling and stuff and my lack of reading ability, and how it just came out the blue. But I literally, when I was going down to start training, my mum and my uncle took me. They were in tears, and just before I got on the train, she took me a diary and just said, write something down, anything just in case times get hard. And my mum were always a bit like that, just a bit too emotional, and I was just like, fucking shut up. And it were a bit like that, and I was like, all right, give it here, and I took the diary off her and kind of discarded it really. And then on the way down, I had a couple of phone calls off people and wishing me well and stuff. And I don't know, I just opened it and just wrote in it how I was feeling. And just from that moment on, I've got OCD to this day, but I always have done. I don't know whether it started with the rugby and stuff, but a bit OCD. Once I get into these habitual behaviours very, very easily, whether they're positive or negative, and I just maintained it. I just felt compelled to maintain it, and I did it every single day. And once I'd done a week, I just thought, I can't not do 2 weeks. And then before I knew it, again, I'd just built this momentum. And looking back on it now, and some of the stuff I've wrote in there, it's just pure gold. It's just class. One of the entries is where we're at bottom of Heartbreak Lane, and a bit of mud gets kicked onto Bondi, the PTIs, like the Reebok Classics white ones that all the PTIs wear, and they were spotless, like nothing was on them. This mud falls onto it, and he's like, no, what is this? And he calls me out, and he's telling me, he calls me out, and I have to tell the mud off for landing on his shoe, and it's just superb. Do you know what I mean? It's just like all little stuff like that you just miss. Like there were some flies left on the windowsill, and one lad had to eat them because 2 flies had died on his watch. And it just, do you know what I mean? It's just some of the stuff. But it definitely puts you in training like nothing else can. I think it just puts you there, and yeah, I'm just really, really happy that I kept it, and happy that chuffing hell that my mum threw me. It's crazy. The curveball in, that's mental.
We've spoke a few times about fate having a hand in your life, Gareth, and it sounds like fate threw another one. Because as you say, those moments of gold, you wouldn't remember them 6 months, a year down the line, because
mate, you can't. You can't.
No, you can't unless you've written it down.
If I didn't have the diary now, I wouldn't be able to talk about training like I can.
Yeah.
And if I think about training now, all I can remember of it is like photographs, like snapshots in time. Yeah. They're not like video memories. I can't remember I've got snapshots of certain bits, but all of it is just completely blur. And in some cases, I look back at it in rose-tinted glasses, as you do with all kind of extremely difficult periods in your life. Your mind always finds a way of making it all right and not as bad.
Yeah.
So the diary and keeping that day-to-day log of how I felt and everything. I mean, I even put smiley faces and sad faces and all stuff like that. It's just, it's good. It's mental.
around this. It's funny because I've got 2 teenage sons. I've got 3 kids in total, a daughter as well. But my youngest teenage son's 16, and he's thinking about leaving school and considering the military as an option. I've been trying to steer him towards the Marines more than, the Pongos. So
yeah.
So things like that will be massive for him.
Absolutely, mate. And he can text, call me anytime he wants, mate. It's definitely something that it absolutely changes your life without a shadow of a doubt. And I didn't always appreciate it when I was younger. I didn't always conduct myself in the way I should have done during and when I got my green lid. But that's age. That's being a young lad.
It's well, I'm going to order one of you. I know. I seen your t-shirts are up on your site now, so I'll order one of those.
Mate, I really appreciate the support, guys. Yeah, they're up there now, pre-order. I think they'll be that ends in a week, and then round about the 1st of July, 29th of June, 1st of July, they will have been dispatched by then. So they'll just go off the print. But I appreciate the support, guys.
Yeah, man, I'll get one of those ordered up, and I think I seen. Do you have patches coming?
I have, mate. Yeah, I've got some. That's the nightmare that has created trying to get a patch done has been unbelievable. Just quickly, I sent off the publishing agent, said, have I got permission to use Royal Marines in the title and the patch, the Becoming the 1% patch. So I did all this investigation, spoke to the Royal Marines. They were completely cool with it. They were like, yeah, we think it's hoofing, brilliant. And then I got in touch with the MOD copyright, and it went a bit nuclear. And they were saying you can't use it. You're ripping it off and all this and all that. And they got in touch with a lawyer. So I've been on with that for about 4 or 5 weeks. But literally about 2 weeks ago, they came back and said I can use everything. They're happy with it.
Okay.
So it's been a complete game changer. But yeah, I've got patches coming on, Velcro patches as well, rubber patches.
I'll get a patch for my gi for jiu-jitsu, and I'll get one of your t-shirts as well, mate. That'd be cool.
Mate, that'll be absolutely superb. Just drop me a text before you do, mate, and let me know when you're going to do that. And again, guys, if you just drop me your name, your podcast and your personal Instagram handles. I'll follow you and I'll share your stuff.
Cool, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll get you out there.
That's awesome. Just before we do start, because as you said, you need to get away, Gareth. Just for anyone that wants to find out more, get in touch with you, where can they find you on social media? Where can they get you?
Yes, mate. So, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram, Becoming the 0.1%. Becoming the 0.1% on Facebook, which is a Facebook page. Twitter, Gareth Timmins. LinkedIn, Gareth Timmins. And so 0.1%, Becoming the 0.1% is where you'll find me on socials.
Awesome.
Perfect. Tag that into the show notes as well. But
we'll let you crack on and give yourself 10 minutes before your next Zoom call, Gareth. But thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure.
No, it's been a pleasure, guys. Like I said, pleasure meeting you fellas, and I really wish you the best of luck with your future endeavours on this. And thank you very much for having me. It's been great.
Likewise. To use your language, it was a hoofing chat, Royal.
It's been hoofing, Royal.
Thanks very much, Gareth. Gareth Timmins, episode 21 of the Silly Goose Gang podcast.
See